All right. Hey, Steven.
Hey, Tyler.
Hey, bro.
Good morning, bro.
Okay, this should sound better, hopefully. With the mics close to our face now. Third week doing this, third podcast. Each week we want to do some kind of improvement. And our improvement from last episode is in the audio, like getting this better, getting closer to the mics. We got these cool little, what are they called?
Pass filters.
Yeah, pass filters. So hopefully our roommates won't be complaining too much about the audio.
Yeah, so today is February 9th, 2023. Thursday. Big day today.
Thursday.
All right. So today we're going to talk about our personal philosophies and mantras.
Yeah, we have this class where we're discovering what we value through an internal resume that the professor is assigning. And we want to dive into like what we believe in, some mantras we have, some life philosophies we picked up in our short 22 years on Earth, and kind of talk about some of our personal experiences through that. So,
yeah.
Steve, one of yours that we talked about before and that you mentioned, you believe that happiness equals expectation minus reality.
Yeah. I can't be selfish and take, ownership of this one. This one has been like a popular philosophy circulated through the internet, through the grapevines, whatnot. But basically, it's just a little equation. It says happiness equals expectations minus reality, and I found that to be true for the past couple of years. I found that to be pretty much true, and the reason being is a lot of times, like even scientifically, when we get a dopamine hit, it's because our expectations are lower than our actual reality. If you think about people who are in a state of depression or whatnot, it's mostly because their reality has not met with their expectations. And people who are, happy with very little in their life is because they have very low expectations and that reality is higher. And on the flip side, there's people who have a lot, who are super rich. It seems like they have their lives figured out, but they're in a state of constant comparison where they see someone else who has even more and the expectation is higher than the reality. So they're upset still.
Okay, what about the people who are like extremely ambitious and they're never satisfied with like what they have? Like they're always craving the next result or the higher like reward because that's like in their personality, it's in their DNA to be like really ambitious. Can those people like never be happy? Like will their expectations never be satisfied?
It's not that they can never be happy, but there could be people with way less that are way happier than them just because they require so little,
So I guess don't be ambitious.
No. So that's not the goal. I think you should be strategically ambitious.
Yeah.
Naval Ravikant, he talks about how desire is basically a contract with yourself not to be happy until you get what you want. And you could take that two ways. One is like, don't desire so much because you'll never be happy. It's kind of like what Buddhists say, like the root of all suffering is desire, right? But on the flip side, for people like me and like you, there's certain things that we want. There's certain things in life that we want to strive for. And I'm not going to just say no. So I'm going to use that strategically and say, hey, I'm going to set myself a goal. And I know it's not going to make me happy, but it's going to keep me motivated because I'm unhappy. So I'm unhappy for a reason, for a purpose.
Yeah.
So as long as you're strategic and aware of that process, it could be a useful motivator,
Totally.
Yeah.
I think too, maybe you could be like unhappy yet joyful at the same time. Or like unsatisfied. Like you can be unsatisfied with your current situations and your current circumstances, but still be joyful and like grateful for the present.
Totally.
So like I guess us currently, like we still want a lot and like we haven't reached our expectations for ourselves. However, like we're still grateful and very like I'm personally extremely joyful for like where we are in our state, like our current like opportunities we have.
Mm-hmm.
Which that kind of leads me into a philosophy that I stole from Matthew McConaughey, one of my favorite authors, philosophers, people of our generation almost. And that's that this world is conspiring to make you happy. Life is constantly throwing blessings your way and constantly surrounding you with all these joyful events. And it's just about our perception and how we view that and how unclouded we are to realize that we're constantly being surrounded by these great things. And I try to live my day, live my life in a way that I'm aware and conscious of the blessings that God has given me and that this life throws my way. And I think that's just a very like joyful perspective to have, and it's difficult sometimes. I think. I mean, I think it's human nature for us to constantly like want more or compare ourselves to other people that have more. So for some reason, our perception's always clouded by this false reality that we don't have enough, and I'm trying to uncloud that.
Yeah. Well, everything's a balance, right? Sure, you can be like a total monk and literally want nothing in your life, and you can be super happy. But what if there's things?
A total monk.
Yeah, and what if there's things you want in your life? What if you want to, retire your parents? What if you want to create a positive impact in the world through a company or through a mission? Like, it's okay to be ambitious, but realize, like, I think the expectation thing relates more to like, comparison or like, or thinking you need all this to be happy. You can be happy right now. Well, like,
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I think we met this really cool person last night in one of our classes who he based like both his businesses off the idea of like community and sharing. And one of his businesses right now is making like zero profit. He has zero profit margin. He's put all this money into it just for like the value of like sharing with your friends and building community based around like these homes where you can like go to your friend's house and just live there. And he's building a platform based off this. And that kind of inspired me. It's like maybe like this guy is extremely happy and joyful in his mission because it's his mission. It's what he values. It's not I'm just chasing money or I'm just chasing this false sense of like of result. You know what I mean? Of like accomplishment.
Yeah. And I don't know. I feel like money is one way to be happy because it does bring some sort of happiness.
Sure.
Through buying you freedom and
I think it's a vehicle.
The things you want, but
it's a vehicle to bring happiness.
And at the end of the day, it's not the only way to be fulfilled. Like
absolutely not.
We can talk about. I think we can name his name. His name is Zach Bell.
Yeah.
He's like founder of MySpace or
MySpace,
My Place or something like that.
Yeah.
My Place.
Very cool guy.
The point is he already has a lot of money. He's a serial entrepreneur, so he's founded multiple companies. So at this point in his life, more money is just it's diminishing returns to his level of happiness.
That would be a cool place to be, is where it's like you make so much money, you're like fuck, I can do whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
And if that like aligns like a mission or purpose, like that's like the goal kind of.
Yeah. And I think, as selfish as it sounds, I think like propelling a sort of a mission or purpose into the world is also a way to be self-fulfilled. I think at a certain point when money can't fulfill you anymore, you will look to other ways to fulfill you.
Yeah.
Which is why it's somewhat selfish to be like, hey, I'm helping the world because it makes me fulfilled, but you're also doing a good thing. So it's a win-win.
Steve, I heard this story this morning with this guy who works at Uber, and he parks at USC, but he doesn't use the parking lot. He just parks outside the building, like anywhere he wants to, and he gets a parking ticket every single day. And he's like, I'm just gonna pay this. It's $60 parking ticket. I make millions.
Really?
That's I can do whatever I want. Like I could pay this parking ticket every single day, and me parking here is like, it's more convenient and saves me time. It's like, why would I not do it? It's kind of I thought that was hilarious. Like people who have that much money can like literally like change the rules and like just not do certain things because of like the power of wealth they have.
Yeah, I think that's the greatest.
Not that was just fucking cool.
That's the greatest thing money buys you. It's not like direct happiness. It's you're able to break some rules. I think.
Right. I think if you are an unhappy person and you got money, you're just still gonna be an unhappy person.
Yes, totally.
I think that's the way it goes.
We can. I don't know if we mentioned this in our previous episodes, but one of our friends, I don't want to name his name, but or whatever. This is guy that a mentor, right?
Okay. And I know personally.
A mentor or ish of yours, and he's really obsessed with making money, and that's sort of his objective, right?
Yeah, I know a few of those people.
Yeah, a few of those people. But the point is, like, some of these people might mention to you, like, yeah, all I care about is money and waking up and making money. They're really successful at it, but I don't think they're necessarily fulfilled because they're on the constant chase.
A cool thing, I wrote this down last night, is what Zach Bell said at our lecture was the richest people he knows and like the world knows aren't fulfilled by just like chasing money, but chasing value and like a mission. Like those money comes along with that most of the time because people are so driven to make their idea work because it has backing, it has value to it. So the richest people he knew were people that were fulfilled by like what they wanted to accomplish.
You're talking about Zach still?
Yeah. Like the people he know, like the richest people he knows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. But I also know a lot of people who are just like completely absorbed into the idea of making money, regardless of like the value, I don't know, they're creating with their job.
I mean, to each his own, but
Like Wall Street people.
yeah, to each his own. But personally, I definitely would say money is a means to an end.
Yeah, the second mantra of Stephen is experience is the greatest teacher.
Yeah.
Dive into it.
So, perfect. There was a period in my life in high school where I was pretty much like a very avid reader, reading pretty frequently. And books teach you a lot, and I'm still a huge proponent of reading. But the biggest thing I've learned is that most things in life, reading or learning about theory is just less than half the battle. Like, you want to know how to build a business, you can go to class, you can take a course, you can read a book, but more than 50%, maybe 80%, 90%, the real lessons you're going to learn are through action and learning those failures for yourself, because every situation is different. And theory doesn't always apply to your specific situation in a way that you can easily recognize it before it happens. So it applies to anything, like working out. You can read theory all day, but the best thing is just go to the gym and see which workouts work for you. And
I think about this all the time with like older people. Like they've been on this world twice as long, if not 3 times as long as you. Like take all the experiences that we've had in 20 years and then times that by 3. Like that's insane. Like they've learned so much more than we have and been through so much more. And it's crazy to think that you're 22 years old and you know more, you're smarter than someone who's like 40. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense to me. Like they've gained so much knowledge and experience and wisdom just from being alive. Totally. So it's ridiculous when people like younger people think that like they're like more capable of like certain things than older people.
Yeah,
I guess that comes with like a lot of caveats.
I would say there's a huge caveat to that. Is that experience is key, and with time comes experience. But you have to be judicial about how you gain your experience. You have to, not judicial. You have to be very intentional about like gaining that experience. You could live a whole life. Like you could try to learn surfing from a 50-year-old guy because he's lived longer, but he's never tried surfing in his life, right?
Yeah. So that makes sense.
So yeah, so 100%. Like if you want to learn you think, public speaking is a natural skill. Maybe if he's a 50-year-old, he has more experience with public speaking. Potentially, he's been in situations where he's had to speak more often, but that's not the same as the guy who's 30 years old and put in 10 years of intentional practice into public speaking. So in that sense, like gain as much experience as you can and learn from people with experience, but be intentional in developing those experiences. Yeah. You have to go out and gain them as fast as possible.
I think it's important to give them the benefit of the doubt, though. Always give someone the benefit of the doubt that they may know something.
Right. I would say there's something you can learn from anyone, from everyone.
Completely. Yeah. That brings me to another mantra I have, inspired by McConaughey, and that's
you love McConaughey.
I love McConaughey. You can get a passport stamp just from walking across the street.
I love that one.
Yeah, I think this one's so cool. I've lived all around the world growing up in a military community, and I think it's so valid how it's not just like what country you go to or what like a person you meet. It's you can learn something. You could find more of yourself just from meeting a stranger who speaks a different language or has had a completely different background, religion or spirituality or whatever it is, and just accepting this and striving to take the leap to meet new people, I think is like the coolest thing. It's like what we're here to do. So get a passport stamp, walk across the street, meet your neighbor. The whole world is like a backyard and we're all neighbors. That's another one. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's so much we can learn from everyone, and just being accepting of everyone's like perspectives and understanding that everyone has different backgrounds. You can learn more than any textbook just from talking to someone. So you have any cool stories about like meeting people?
Potentially.
I do. I kind of.
Okay. Go for it.
Last semester, I had a flat tire, and I had AAA. I called a towing company, and they brought me to this tire shop. We live in South Central Los Angeles, a very Hispanic like neighborhood, and this tire shop was completely run by this Mexican family, and it was like 8:30 at night, and I was just super grateful they were open, and they were just like old, like drinking beer and like listening to a lot of like Spanish music, and like happily fixing my tire, and I'm like, this is it, like this is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
The way that they're just like so like happy and present, and like that was like family business, and like they're like working together, like they loved it, and like just from like being that present with them, and like I had a beer with them and just like sat in the shop, and it was like so cool.
Yeah.
It was just like a cool like bonding experience from like a super white like kid from Michigan to be involved in that. It was fun.
Totally. I think that's like very similar to my second mantra in the sense that like you're not learning from a book, you're learning from experience, and meeting people and learning about their stories is part of the life experience you're accumulating.
Totally. Which was just so cool. I mean, this is like down the street too. You know what I mean? Like this is literally 5 minutes where we live. So it's like I was like literally in Mexico City. You know what I mean?
I know.
And it's like 5 minutes away. Anyone can go do it. Anyone can like put themselves out there and meet new people. And
to expand on that point a little bit, I'll say that like I think people are one of the most influential factors in your life. When we talked about environment last time, about how like what your roommates do is kind of what you do, and then there's that very overworn saying, but it's true, like the closest people in your life are kind of what you turn out to be. Like, show me your five friends, I'll show you your future.
Right, sure.
But it's very much true. Like people influence you way more than the books you read and the professors you have. I mean, the professor is a person, and a mentor is in a relationship, right?
Yeah.
Your relationship with people is your greatest like asset in a sense.
Totally. I think just like I think some of the most successful people are the people that, especially entrepreneurs in general, are people who can make genuine connection to people and are extremely passionate about building relationships. And it's not like a selfish intention. They aren't doing it to gain investments or like raise capital or to promote their business. They're doing it because they love meeting new people, creating relationships, and like expanding their like genuine network. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Zach Bell, remember him? He talked about Burning Man yesterday. Something about it really resonated with me. Is that there's a crowd at Burning Man that's not all about people who are into electronic music and doing psychedelic drugs or whatnot. There's a crowd there specifically want like people who are super innovative and interesting, wanting to meet people like them. You know?
Yeah, they're craving community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of those founders, they use each other to inspire each other. They use each other to build companies together, to bounce ideas off each other. And you're not gonna be a successful serial entrepreneur in a vacuum without that kind of community. Yeah. Sitting in a room all day reading books, you're not gonna get that.
I think we might have spoken about this before, but the best value about college is not the books you buy or even like the lectures you attend. It's about the people you surround yourself with, the people you meet, the community you're a part of. Like USC is an incubator for new ventures, for some of the smartest people in the world, for some of the most ambitious people in the world. And just being in this community, in this environment, and surrounding yourself with those kind of people has benefited me more than any textbook or any course I bought. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why people want to go to Harvard or want to go to Stanford or like wherever it is, because they want to be involved in that community.
It's for the people. Like you're not paying for, well, you're paying partially for the certificate of graduating, but it's not for the specific classes that you're taking. You're going to forget most of the information after the exam. Right. It's mostly for the lasting relationships.
Every job you've had, I bet you've reached out to someone that went to USC or like someone you know in the past and asked for a referral or ask for something. Yeah. And that's the step in the door. There's some people applying that have the same credentials as you, but it's more about like people that actually know who you are. Yeah. You could speak more on that than I can because you've had way more job experience than me. Yeah, I mean, it's very much Trojan, like the Trojan network thing is pretty huge at USC, but applies to any jobs. Most of the job market is actually it's called the hidden job market. It's kind of like an iceberg where there's a tip top like public postings for jobs, and then there's 80% the hidden job market. It's through friends, referrals, right, family. It's because end of the day, people want to be working with people that they like. Yeah, that they know personally. Like it's so hard to like get a read on someone from a LinkedIn page. Like you can really tell about like someone's character or someone's like intangibles just from like looking at their LinkedIn other
Yeah.
social media. Like that's BS. You know?
You ever heard of this book or movie called Into the Wild?
No.
Christopher McCandless. So it's a story about this guy. He grew up in a wealthy family, prep school, and then he decided, like through his own philosophy, that going into the wild and leaving everything behind, money, like his friends, family, would be
Oh, I
makes
might
him
have heard
happy.
this. I might have heard of this.
What makes him happy,
Did
right?
he die by himself?
Yeah, he went to
Oh,
Alaska.
yeah, I've seen this movie. It was actually
He
crazy.
ate some like poison mushroom, then he died.
Yeah, he like lived in a bus or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw this movie. It was like almost a silent film.
yeah, because it's by himself. He doesn't have anyone to talk to. He's
dude.
by himself, right?
He was going insane, right?
Right. But the biggest thing is at the end of his life, and when he's about to die, he realized that happiness is only real when shared.
Was it that? That's
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Was this a real story?
Yeah, I think
Really?
so. I think so. I have to double check on that.
Yeah,
but
happiness is only
real when shared.
real when shared.
Like people are the most important. The people you have in your life are the most important thing in this life.
Yeah.
You can have all this
What's
money.
the point of having
yeah.
all this stuff and you can't have people to spend it with?
Yeah, imagine
You know what I
like living in a mansion alone till you're 8 years old. Like,
Right.
There's
Yeah,
zero
it's a
happiness.
massive house, but like
There's
who
zero
cares?
happiness.
You know what I mean?
And then there's that like Hispanic family who like have their beers and like have that auto shop. And,
Yeah.
like, that whole family and community. That's way more real happiness than the guy that owns a yacht by himself. And
Totally. But the way our society like presents it, you know what I mean? Like presents the yacht, presents the club scene, presents like
right.
flashing your money.
Well, obviously it's
That
not.
seems way cooler than having
Yeah.
like a small tire shop with your family.
Well,
But-
it's not that black and white. You can have a yacht and have friends and family.
yeah, sure. Yeah.
But the point is,
yes, you can have both.
the point is, be aware of how important relationships are, like for multiple reasons.
So the number one regret people have when they're dying was not, I wish I worked more, I wish I had this or that. It's, I wish I spent more time with the people I loved and creating relationships. And that's super cliche. And I think like pretty obvious in hindsight, but we don't do that day to day. Like we're so concerned of our anxieties and all these like menial tasks. But like at the end of the day, like we're all we have. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
people you are with is all, that's what like your life is based on, like the love you give others.
Yeah,
So
I grew up hearing this in like middle school and growing up. People would say like, family is the number one thing, is the most important thing you'll have in life. And I'm like, that's so cliche. It's like that's so cliche. Like I want this, I want that,
right.
But like when you really think long term, like family is your number one circle of people, and people is the most important, aspect of your life. And then there's friends, and there's all these circles. Like these really are the most important things in life.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think we also met with the co-founder of Soul Cycle last night. Gave a great talk to us at one of
Shirley
our
Rice.
lectures.
Yeah.
Great talk to us last night about her new company she's starting, where it's like fitness. It's like going to the gym and improving your physical health, but for your relational being as well. So like you go to like this like therapy, like group therapy space with strangers, and you connect with them for like an hour doing like breath work and like meditations and like open dialogue conversations and just like letting yourself out and sharing with others, like sharing and building community. And it's all for the purpose of strengthening your relationship like skills and your ability in your life, because that's we just know is most important. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
pretty cool, I thought.
Yeah. Totally.
It'd be interesting to see then like 5-10 years of this pans out and there's like the same amount of these facilities and gyms, and people are valuing their like mental health along with like their relational, like their relationships as well, just as much as physical health.
Yeah.
Could be cool.
Relationship is key.
Could be cool.
Is there so I'm reading your list of personal philosophies. Is there like another one that you wanna?
Yeah, I think I have one more. What did I say? Yeah, this one also inspired by Matthew McConaughey. The man I want to be and the man I am sleep in the same bed at night.
And the man I want to be and the man I am sleep in the same bed at night.
Sleep in the same bed at night.
I like that.
What does that mean? It means that the person down the road, the person I'm chasing, the person I want to ultimately be, lives with me in here, like inside when I go to sleep. All the thoughts, all the current ambitions I have, all the habits and daily routines I'm currently doing is ultimately the man I'm going to be in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years. That's what I'm building. That's what I'm chasing. But we're the same person. And it seems like, I don't know, counterintuitive a little bit, but it just reminds me that focusing on your habits, focusing on these like daily tasks and the goals I'm trying to accomplish, that will ultimately like bring me the person I want to be. And we don't give ourselves enough credit sometimes. Like like 5 years ago, if you imagine where you are today, like you would be pretty impressed with yourself, I imagine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you'd be like extremely ecstatic about like the person you are. But we don't give ourselves that like self-love in the moment. You know what I mean? Because we're so focused on the future. We're so focused on the next task. But if we just give ourselves 5 minutes to breathe and appreciate like what we've created, that could go a long way.
Yeah. How do you think you use that in a practical sense, knowing that you and the man you want to be sleep in the same bed? Does that affect your motivation or like how you view yourself or how you like justify the things you do, you think? A little
I
bit?
think that whenever I get overwhelmed with anxiety, whenever I'm stressed about not being somewhere I think I should be, you know what I mean? Like, why don't I have this job yet? Why don't I have this much money yet? Why am I not getting the grade I deserve or whatever it is? You know, whatever stupid like goal I'm chasing. Whenever I get overwhelmed with that, I kind of tend to focus on the idea that my future self is present in me, and if I just focus on what I'm doing today, if I just focus on this next run, or studying one more, or filming a video, or doing something that's going to benefit me today, then my future self is going to benefit from it. You know what I mean? Like I'm focusing on the future by living in the present.
Totally. Yeah, like
that seems so common sense.
like it's kind of like
it's not as common.
Like it will be okay. Like it sounds
sure, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of want to talk about something. It's kind of like the complete opposite of your philosophy in a sense.
Go for it.
It might even be considered a little bit toxic, but here's something I've been thinking about. I talked about how like, you know, unhappiness comes from desire, but I almost use it strategically in my life. I almost like purposely induce some sort of anxiety in myself to keep myself more motivated on the same path. So taking your quote right before I read this, how I would have interpreted this is kind of the opposite way, where like the man I want to be and the man I am, the man I want to be sleep in the same bed, but I'm not going to be the man I'm, you know, want to be unless I've taken actual steps towards him, right?
Sure.
So the way I see it is almost like knowing that you could be the man you want to be, you have to be strategic about how you're living today to get there. So, you know, there's that saying about, live life as if they're filming the documentary of your success right now, right? Like, what are you doing today? Do you think that would get you where you want to be when they're documenting your success, right? The documentary crew is coming back in time and filming that. And another way I thought about it recently, just like occurred to me, it's like, what about like your future family, like your future wife or your future kids? They're looking at back, and you're that successful now, and they're looking back at your currently what you're doing. Like, are you going to be proud of how you're living your life now to become the man that they want you to be in the future?
Yeah,
and I think that motivates me a lot, knowing that like I'm not that man yet, but I need to be taking certain steps to become that man.
Totally. I think that's a spin on it for sure. That's not toxic at all. I think that's called eustress, which is positive.
Eustress. I like that. Yeah,
it's positive.
I've heard
stress.
about that.
Yeah, it's
psych class or something.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for you. I mean, there's obviously like a bad side of stress and anxiety where like you're overwhelmed and like it's not helping you. But there's good stress to the point where it's like you feel like a urgency. It's a sense of urgency to get something done. Like you need to go. Like it's if I don't study now, I'm gonna fail. I gotta study. You know what I mean? That's that bad? No, it's like an innate desire to do well. That's fine. You know what I mean? But for me, it can get to the point sometimes where I'm worried about the uncontrollables. I'm worried about stuff that's not in my grasp, and that's when like I start to hone in and focus on like what I can control, and that tends to lead toward towards more positive thinking for me.
No, that's great. I think it's perfect. We talk a lot about balance on this podcast. Like it's like make sure you don't do this too much and make sure you don't do that too much. So don't be too relaxed, don't be too stressed, but also don't be
it's so hard to do. You know what I mean? Like all this balance stuff is.
But I think it's great that we're talking about both sides of the coin. For people that are too unmotivated, induce a little bit of stress in yourself, and for people that are too hard on yourselves and has too much anxiety, you realize that you'll be fine.
He's off, brother.
So it's great, and to connect that to one of my philosophies, I think it's a great connector. It's about like happiness and being at peace with yourself. Is presence is the key to happiness. There's a lot more to that point. So
totally, dude.
So like one of my favorite books of all time is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and he basically the whole philosophy is the only reason we're unhappy is because we think. Like all unhappiness comes from our thought processes. thought processes, and we induce unhappiness. So if you think about the past, like, oh, today I was lazy, like I said something stupid to that person, like whatever, and you feel regret for what you did, regret for how you were in the past. So that gives you unease. And then there's thinking about the future where I'm stressed. Am I going to finally be the man I want to be? Am I on the right track? Am I going to get that job? And your future thinking, that also induces anxiety in the present. So any sort of unhappiness is either you thinking about the past or the future. It's your thought process, your worries, and your regrets that are giving you unhappiness. So if you really truly focus on the current moment, like we're just sitting here, we're breathing, we're talking, like nothing's wrong with our lives at all in this specific moment. Like maybe later there's something wrong because later you have an assignment in 2 hours. But currently in this moment, you're just sitting here, air is filling your lungs, you're alive. There's no reason to be unhappy. There's no reason for your thought processes to induce a negative emotion in you. So
that's one of the main reasons I like love doing yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Yoga is like the practice and meditation of being aware, practicing consciousness, being present. And I think that's like one of the keys to happiness is just honing in on how to be present.
Yeah.
Like focusing on your breath. That's a huge one, I think. When people get so overwhelmed and they're constantly like their mind's in a million places and like their brain's like a marketplace of thoughts, like just breathe. Just focus on letting it air in and breathing it out, and just do that like deep breaths like 10, 15 times.
Yeah.
And like I promise you, you're gonna feel a lot more relaxed.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do sometimes. You can get so caught up and you think it's gone, but like practicing consciousness, practicing presence is so powerful.
Totally.
So powerful. This quote I know is 99% of the bad things that have happened to me never happened to me. And it's
totally true.
It's just you thinking
Totally true.
all this shit's gonna go wrong. It's you pretending and creating a false narrative in your brain that this is gonna ruin me, or I'm never gonna make money, or I'm never gonna do this, or I'm never gonna be successful. And half the time that shit doesn't even happen. It's just us like creating these like false realities.
We create our own problems.
We do.
You know, the people talk about, like, I think in the recent years, people talk about meditation and mindfulness a lot more than they have in the past, and mental health, right? It almost seems like a little bit wishy-washy at times, but when you really think about it, it's true. All the negative emotions we have are completely self-induced. Like, unless someone is physically harming you, feeling bad about yourself or about your life or feeling anxious is all your own thought patterns doing that.
You just finished another book called The Four Agreements.
Yeah.
One of the major agreements is take nothing personally.
Yeah.
Right? So like everything that happens around you, all these external consequences of things, someone makes fun of you or something goes wrong, don't let that affect like your thought and your agreements with yourself, like who you are. You know what I mean? That kind of connects a little bit to not letting your external factors hurt like your present moment. You know what I mean? And I thought the most interesting part of that was the positive aspect of it. When someone comes up to you and compliments you, or someone even like shares something or just super nice to you, you aren't. It can be harmful to take that personally, even to think like I'm better or I get validation from this, because ultimately you should have that internally already. So when someone does something nice for you or shares something or something this is great toward like externally towards you, it's a nice thought and you should appreciate it and be super grateful, but ultimately don't let it like validate you in any way. It shouldn't change your validation of yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Just to sort of wrap up that point, it's like, I think it's a great, like the other side of the coin, it's a two-way street. If you take negative things, if you don't take that personally, but you take the positive compliments personally, you're still being subject to the external environment.
Absolutely.
Ups and downs and highs and lows are what other people do to you.
Yes.
You shouldn't be a leaf in the wind. Everything should come from internal.
Yeah, that's hard to do. And Steve, I think the camera's dying.
Yeah. And I think it's great because we pretty much finished most of our personal
We did.
philosophies.
That was our short personal philosophies from our 22 years on this world. Hopefully more to come. Hopefully more experiences and truths that we find along the way. So here's the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Till next time.